We've got a great Sunday night football matchup here in Week 12 as Jalen Hurts and the Eagles fly over to LA to take on Matt Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams. My name's Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and we're going to break down this Week 12 Sunday night football matchup. But before we get into that, we do have a goal of getting to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We can't believe that we're saying that. And so I want us to have a huge shout out and thank you to everybody that subscribed to make this possible. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment. Let us know who you think will win this game. And also let's see if we can get to 6,000 by the end of the year. And Ryan, coming in this game here, two big wins for both of these teams. Philadelphia is on a mini bye after they had a dominant victory over the Washington Commanders on Thursday Night Football. And the Los Angeles Rams are coming off a good victory over your New England Patriots on the road as well. So going to go in prime time and get to play each other. This is going to be a huge matchup, major playoff implications on the line for both these teams. So I want to throw it over to you here. What do you think are some of the key X factors for both of these teams that come out victorious?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of looking at it, this Rams defensive front is playing really, really well. They're a very young defensive front. So I just kind of want to see how they match up against this Philadelphia Eagles front. This is a very dominant running game by the Philadelphia Eagles that I believe they're second in the league, only to the Baltimore Ravens in total rushing yards. And Saquon Barkley is just having a phenomenal season. And I think this Rams front can do it, but it is a tall task, and we have seen this Philadelphia Eagles team kind of wear down on some of these defensive lines throughout the season, and then Saquon busts a few long runs late, i.e. the Washington Commanders game. So I think that's going to be fun to watch. And then can the Philadelphia Eagles get after Matt Stafford enough to really kind of throw him off his game? I think you look at what the Dolphins were able to do a couple weeks ago, and they were able to really get after him and I believe force a couple turnovers. And to me, I think that's going to be key in this matchup. Does Philadelphia get good pressure on him, and are they able to throw him off? Because that was one thing. I think New England in that game got a little too ballsy with the blitzes that they were bringing, and they couldn't get pressure with a 4-man rush. So they started to get a little over aggressive, and I think Philadelphia could actually get there without really having to send too many blitz packages, especially with that interior rush that they have. So with Jalen Carter, so I think that'll be a fun matchup, as if this pass rush can get after Matt Stafford.
Yeah, so I will say you are wrong. Actually, Eagles are now, if my math is correct, which I believe it is, officially the number one ranked rushing offense.
Okay.
When it comes in the NFL, I think they beating the Ravens by 4 yards, averaging 181.3 yards per game rushing. Ravens are down to 177.27. They're going to have a fall from grace eventually anyways, especially too after you have multiple 200-plus yard rushing games early on. And I'm talking about Baltimore. The Eagles' rushing offense is ridiculous. It's funny, too, when you kind of look at it. Their passing yards, you would think that their passing yards have dipped off a little bit because they're 21st overall in passing yards. They did have a tiny, tiny stretch in the beginning of the season where I think it was tough for them to throw the ball because A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith were out for a couple of games. But even too, though, since then, you could say maybe statistically they're not throwing the ball that well. I just say that statistically. They still are, I think, one of the better passing teams in the league. They're just so freaking good at running the ball with Saquon Barkley in the backfield, and that offensive line is phenomenal. That it's just they don't need to have to air it out 400 yards per game, And so I think one of the things, though, that's going to be interesting to me in this matchup is it's going to be fascinating to watch this Rams offense go up against this Eagles defense. And so knew the Eagles obviously had invested a bunch in the secondary as well. I think Quinion Mitchell specifically has won so many fantasy games for teams because he has just locked down the number one receivers for everybody. It seems like week in and week out. You go look at Terry McLaurin this past week against Washington. I was playing against Terry McLaurin. I say that I'm probably still going to lose my fantasy game, but that's more just because I'm maybe a horrible fantasy manager, but that's a separate conversation. But Quinion Mitchell shut down Terry McLaurin. I think he only had one catch for 5 yards, maybe 2 catches for 10 yards or something like that.
Yeah.
Very minimal performance. He's done that a lot against a lot of great receivers as well. So how is he going to match up against Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp, and at the same time, just the secondary in general. And then on the flip side, this Los Angeles Rams offensive line struggled against this Miami defensive front the last time we saw them on prime time. And Jalen Carter is developing into that defensive tackle that we all knew he could be. Then you have Jordan Davis out there as well. Then you just have just good front seven by this Eagles, just in general, outside of Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis as well. And I'm not listing off all the names because there's a bunch of good players on that side of the ball. But how is this Los Angeles Rams offensive line going to handle that? Because last time we saw them against Miami, which I think have a solid defensive front as well, led by Calais Campbell, and you're going to have Jalen Phillips up there as well. They really struggled. It definitely took a toll on that offense and that rhythm. And so I think if they can't handle that, and then on the same time too, Quentin Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, they keep doing their thing and locking down these top receivers. It's going to be interesting how the Rams go and combat this.
Jalen Phillips is out, I believe.
Yes, not Jalen Phillips. Am I thinking Bradley Chubb?
Potentially. I know Chop Robinson has been worked into rotation.
Yeah.
Like they've had a lot of injuries at that position.
Yeah, they just have a good defensive line in Miami as well, and I think the defensive line in Philadelphia is even better. So it's just how is the Rams going to go and combat this dominant defensive front in Philadelphia? And then on the flip side as well, then too, how are they going to somehow stop this offense? And so I think we saw it today as well against your New England Patriots, and want to hear your thoughts on how the Rams played overall specifically. But they definitely had some explosive plays. I think maybe some questionable coaching decisions by your New England Patriots defense, but still, like, we saw the explosiveness, and it's there. And the Rams are starting to get into rhythm. But I just don't think they're as. I think that they're going to have to go and make this game a shootout to win this game against Philadelphia, and not a lot of teams have been able to do that. And actually, too, against just a fun fact, Philadelphia, since their bye week, haven't given up more than 280 total yards of offense in a game since their bye week. So,
oh wow,
yeah.
Well,
and also too, on top of that as well, we talked about how they're now the number one rushing offense when it comes to yards per game. They're now the number one defense when it comes to total yards per game as well.
Okay, well, that's pretty hard to beat. The number one offense and the number one defense, that's pretty good. So, and like, just to touch on the Rams game, and I don't want to take away anything from that victory, because that was a good victory and they definitely were the better team. But like, the second play of the second half, New England comes out and goes cover 0. And it's like, okay, I will take Cooper Kupp one-on-one with 2/3 of the field to create separation. And so, like, that created the long touchdown play. There was, like, other times, too. Like, they would have, like, Keon White shadowing Puka Nacua in the slot. And then it's like, Keon White is obviously not covering Puka Nacua in one-on-one coverage. And it was like, so then they'd have nobody there to fill in after Keon White would obviously rush the passer. And like, it would just be an easy 10-yard gain. So like, there was a lot of like just really stupid coaching decisions. If you can't tell, I'm a Patriots fan. Like, there were just a lot of really stupid coaching decisions on the part of the Patriots that allowed it to be as easy as it was for this Rams offense. Even if they had coached a good defensive game, I still feel like the Patriots would have lost, like, and the Rams would have won. But definitely, you're not going to see those mistakes from this Philadelphia Eagles team. And just to kind of get into predictions here, I'm going with Philadelphia. I think this Philadelphia team, they're just on a hot streak. This offense is really hard to stop right now. This defense is playing very well right now. So it's just they're on a hot streak.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with Philadelphia as well. During this stretch where I mentioned, like, since their bye week, they haven't given them 280 yards of offense. The team that they did give up 280 yards of offense was the Cincinnati Bengals. And I kind of just think about, like, and also we're recording this during Sunday Night Football, but I think that though the Rams and the Bengals, is their play style is, I think, kind of comparable. I would say where they have like the quick stud receivers on the outside, I would say weaker offensive lines. I would say a pretty solid defensive front seven at times, but like pretty weak secondary overall. And I think it's going to be a similar style of game to that Cincinnati Bengals game as well. I just think it's going to be too much for the Rams over a 60-minute period to take advantage of. So I'm going to go with Philadelphia also.
Yeah, and that's I do think like just kind of with the Rams going forward, I think they're a good team that's going to beat up on bad teams, but I don't know if they're going to be quite good enough. Like I think you talked about the Philadelphias, the Detroits, like the Kansas Cities, the Buffaloes, like those teams. Like I don't know if they're going to be quite good enough to really like compete and beat that level of team on a consistent basis. So it'll just be an interesting kind of development as the season finishes out here. Let's go ahead. We'll wrap this one up. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. It is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, go ahead and leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead in this one. Will it be the Philadelphia Eagles? Will it be the Los Angeles Rams? Other than that, we will see you guys next time.